gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 369. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hi, Saturn.
Hi.
The karate chopping motions that I do when I intro the show are getting so elaborate that it's becoming an issue to stay in front of the mic while I do them.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know that. I don't
If
know why.
let me ask you this way then. If there were other people close to you, how hurt would they be?
I'm not like putting my weight into it. You know?
Okay, good.
Otherwise, I might chop through a monitor or something.
So it's more like you're being a director, like you're directing the traffic of the show.
I took Taekwondo in second grade for like 3 months. These hands are deadly weapons.
Yeah, you're basically a ninja assassin at this point.
It could go right through someone, is all I'm saying. It could just clean through them. Well, guy's gonna be here at the end of this episode. Yeah. He's here now, but he's forbidden from speaking. But he missed his segment at the end of our last recording session, and I think at some point he skipped one.
He did.
So he is here tonight to regale us.
But he's in the cone of silence for now.
He's in the cone of silence. My week.
Yes, sir.
I've been playing the BattleTech.
Right.
As well you know.
Yeah.
As well you know, I've been painting the BattleTech miniatures.
Right.
And I painted all of my BattleTech miniatures.
All of them.
Yeah, I got all of them done. I think there's 26.
And the picture looks pretty good. You posted a picture.
Yep, got all of them painted.
Look like little painted dudes now.
All 26 or so. Mm-hmm. Got them all clear coated and magnetized, and they live on a brownie sheet now, or a little brownie pan. And so now that I'm out of things to paint, I now have to play the games. So I have yet to play the tabletop BattleTech with another human, although I have a human scheduled for Sunday, and I'm going to go out there.
Now.
You can just schedule them. Did you know this? Have you heard about this?
No.
It's. I am going to a store to play on Sunday. I've coerced Pablo to go with me because I'm too anxious to go by myself and meet a bunch of new people. And so in the meantime, I'm playing the 2018 Harebrained Schemes BattleTech strategy video game.
Okay.
And it's still just real good. Man, what a really just awesome strategy game. It's just super fun.
Nice.
I have been kind of delving into the world of mods for it because as great of a game as it is, and it really is, I highly recommend the BattleTech strategy game. Awesome, like skirmish, combat, tactics game, if you like that.
Right.
But it runs like garbage.
Oh.
It's poorly optimized. It'll put your system to the test, and it runs on my Steam Deck.
Yeah.
But the whole time, my Steam Deck is like just blasting off into space. It's just like the whole time I'm doing that. And so I learned that there are mods that are supposed to kind of help improve the performance. Mm-hmm. There's also entire mods that add entire gameplay systems and campaigns and all kinds of crazy shit that I've not gotten to because I've not even made it to the DLC content yet. But still just a really, really great strategy game. I was curious how accurate it was to the tabletop game, because now that I've played a couple rounds of the tabletop by myself, played 2 or 3 scenarios to just kind of get my bearings, so I'm not walking in the door on Sunday just being like, I don't know, tell me everything. and you know, it's a lot of the systems are different, but like feel wise, it's pretty darn close, I would say. One of the more true to its tabletop source material video games out there is my very cursory assessment.
Looks like there's about $90 worth of DLC available.
I paid $25 for the game and all of the DLC. It does go on sale frequently, especially on GOG. Because I paid $25. I just went to Is There Any Deal and searched BattleTech, and I got it all on. I think I got it on Game Billet. I don't know. It goes on sale constantly. And I'm so excited about this. A while back when I got my Steam Deck, I bitched about the guides
Yes.
Because I use Steam guides religiously for any kind of RPG.
Okay.
And the way I would use it on my Steam link is that I would open my guide, and then anytime I hit my home button, my guide would just still be open.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that.
And that's how I played RPGs. And on the deck, anytime you hit your home button, go back into your game, when you come back out, you have to go back to the game, hit view details, scroll down, scroll over to guides, find your guide, and then scroll back down to where you were.
That's a pain.
And for things like JRPGs, because here's the thing, I'm horrible at navigating maps. I never know where I am, and I'm constantly lost. So for JRPGs, I'm looking at the guide. I mean, like literally, yeah, just like in real life. So in JRPGs, I'm looking at the guide like literally every room that I'm going into.
Nice.
And so it has made them virtually unplayable on deck for me because I use the guides constantly, because I don't have to tell you how miraculously bad at JRPGs I am.
You're pretty bad, yeah.
I mean, I lock myself into scenarios that every time you're like, how did you even do that?
I
How
know.
did you even get there at that level with no equipment?
Yes, that is a question I ask you a lot of times, yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, I didn't know you could buy stuff in the game. And so I just went.
I never realized there was an A button on this controller.
Which Mega Man was it that I beat? And on the show, I was like, this one has a charge shot? God, which
I
was?
don't remember. Or no, maybe it was the slide. Maybe it was that you didn't realize it had the slide yet.
Maybe that's what. But there was something in a Mega Man game. Anyway, they fixed it. So now when you hit the home button, it pops you to the like kind of quick menu where you can pick like exit or view details or change controls. And there's a guides section. And if you open a guide, it stays there, and then you can home button out, go back to your game, pop it back up, and it keeps the guide exactly where it was.
That's good.
Which is very, very exciting. I know it's like major first world problems because I'm like, I don't want to have to look at a guide on my phone.
Yeah.
But I think it's because like so many years of daytime television have ground my attention span down to just like nothing. And so if I look at my phone, I pick my phone up and I'm like, all right, let me see where I need to go. Okay, I got 700 Discord messages. Let me filter through all those. Okay, someone sent me a link on Discord. I'm going to open this.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing's on sale. Okay, well, let me open that on my desktop over here so I can see. And it just, it's not good. It's not good for getting stuff done.
That's fair.
And so I'm very, this is like killer feature on the deck for me. So very, very excited. They've honestly been adding, it's been a long time since I bought a consumer electronic that wasn't a game console, like right when it came out, like a game console or a phone.
Yeah.
And game consoles and phones, for all their issues, are usually pretty complete experiences when they come out compared to things like, you know, handheld Linux computers running on experimental versions of Arch.
You say that, my phone just got a new feature.
Well, see, there you go. There you go.
Now when I use the magic eraser on the camera, I can choose to just fade out the background instead of completely removing it with a fake background.
So it's really nice to see the Steam Deck getting real meaningful feature updates that seem to be pretty, like every big update that they have has something, at least one or two things that I'm very excited about, which implies to me that they are listening to user feedback, because it's always shit like the guides where it's like, hey, I know this isn't a thing y'all probably thought about on the design end, but this is how I use Steam.
Right.
And they seem to be taking notice of these things.
Maybe the deck engineers are listening to this show and they heard you complain about it.
Maybe. I do have a hardware complaint. It did
while you're listening,
it did take a tumble.
Oh no.
It did. It took a very short tumble. It was in its case, and I picked the case up, and I had not zipped it when I stuck it in its case. And it was in a little protector membrane, and it fell on the ground. And it didn't fall far. It fell maybe 1.5 feet, you know. And it's for what it's worth, it's a pretty sturdy piece of electronics. Like it does not feel delicate. And it took a tumble. And I was like, oh no, it's the first thing I do is I inspect it for blemishes. I check all my buttons. There's a button verification menu in it, which is awesome, where you open it and you can press every button on the thing and it verifies that it is working to its full capacity.
Nice.
And so I did that and everything worked. One of the triggers kind of had like a click when it went in. I was like, oh no, but then it was fine.
Nice. Just had to snap back into place.
Yeah, presumably it just kind of came like too far out a little bit, you know.
Right.
But now that trigger, whenever I depress it all the way, it goes. There's this tiny little like the tiniest little.
Got Skeeter from Doug living in there.
Littlest rubbery squeak. And it's driving me up the wall. Oh, it's driving me crazy. It works totally fine. Works great. And
so in your hardware complaint here, how much did it squeak before you threw it to the ground?
First of all, there was no throwing.
Okay.
It took a gentle tumble onto my soft hardwood floor.
Okay, before you discarded it.
It took a soft, feathery fall onto the ground. It did not squeak at all to my knowledge. So I don't know if it's this thing where maybe it was kind of squeaking a little bit before and it's just kind of, you know, as I use it and whatever. Because it is the right trigger, so it's the primary trigger.
Right.
Or if it was the drop and then, you know, after you drop something, you're like super vigilant about like, is anything, you know. So I'm thinking maybe I'm just being extra vigilant and I noticed it.
And it could also be that if it did just slightly snap out of place, that when it snapped back in, it's just a fraction of a millimeter off or something. But.
Yeah, I thought about opening it because just opening the back is super easy on it, on the teardowns, and I was like, well, I could open it and put some what's that dry powdery silicon powder? Cocaine. Put cocaine in it for my flight.
Right.
It's like a silicone powder that you can put in there. That's like a lubricant. But then I remember Valve saying that as soon as you open your deck, you do give up some of the integrity of the casing. And so I was like, is it worth giving up that percentage of casing integrity for one single every once in a while? Yeah. So I you know, that's kind of where I am. It's almost like they didn't make it to be thrown on the hardwood floor.
That's
I don't
weird.
really know. Like
every time that somebody at my office comes to me and they're like, my computer like gently fell off my desk.
Gently fell off.
And every time I'm like you knocked it to the floor, didn't you? It fell out of your hands. No. It was on my desk and I just happened to be picking up a piece of paper and it gently fell to the ground. Like, okay.
I gently frog kicked my laptop down the stairwell.
So now anytime I hear anyone say that they have dropped any piece of electronics, all I can think is I gently dropped it.
I drop stuff. Yeah. A lot of it is that I rarely sit. I walk on a day that I'm not on my feet very much. According to my watch, I walk about 3 miles a day.
Damn.
And that's not going anywhere.
Right,
that's
just
me
pacing.
Just at home walking around. That's just and I'm tall.
Yeah.
So I just drop stuff. I'm clumsy, but I keep everything in cases.
That's good.
In screen protectors and stuff. Right. So you know, so every time I buy an electronic. I'm always ready because I'm going to have that first drop. It always happens to me. Yeah. Usually it's knocked off the edge of the couch is usually what it is. And so I'm always nervous because after the first drop, usually I can go a long time before the second drop. So I got the first drop out of the way and it was okay. It's pretty good.
That's good.
I'm feeling pretty good about any potential later drops. So yeah, that's the damage I did to my Steam Deck.
Well, it's good.
How was your week?
We're all very proud of you. I got a new receiver, an audio receiver for my television.
Yes.
Because I had a 5.1 sound bar, and it had the slightest delay. It was like 3/4 of a second.
Was that the one that I gave to you?
No, it was a one I got after that, actually. The one that you gave to me is in my bedroom now for my television in there.
Well, there you go.
But no, it was a 5.1 soundbar that I picked up. So it had the rear speakers and then the front soundbar, and it had delay of about 3/4 of a second, and it drove me insane.
So because that would drive me. Was there no? Well, I was going to say a lot of TVs have soundbar delay adjustment, but that wouldn't help for video games because that's going to add delay to your video game.
Exactly. So, and when I did try to do the delay adjustment, it was like, no, you're in game mode. You can't do that. And then I went on to the soundbar and told it to do a negative audio adjustment, and it was already at the lowest possible level, and it was still about 3/4 of a second.
Now, is it connected optical or?
It was connected through HDMI ARC.
Well, see, there's your problem.
And I tried it through optical as well, and it was worse.
Really?
Yes.
Optical is optical. That's the whole point of optical, is that there's no delay.
Yeah, so it turns out that the fiber optic connection from optical is about the same as the digital connection from HDMI, but modern sound equipment apparently has to do some post-processing to convert the digital from optical into regular digital or something.
I see. Okay.
So yeah,
so they ruined it.
They did. They ruined it all. But I happened to have some points on a credit card that I could use on something, so I picked up a receiver. Before I picked it up, I saw that they sold the same one at Best Buy, so I went down there to talk to the dude in the sound department and was like, hey, so I'm thinking about getting this receiver. I guess I still need to get speakers and a sub and everything and some cable, and what price range do you think I'll be looking at? And he's like, so you need the receiver and all this other stuff. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not as worried about the receiver, but for everything else, you think I can keep things under $500? And he says, dude, you're not going to be able to get speakers and a sub for under $3,000. And that seemed high to me.
What a fucking asshole.
Right.
I would have immediately gone on Amazon and been like, what is all this shit?
Right,
What's going on here?
So I was like, well, that's cool. Anyway, bye. And so instead, I went through Monoprice and got a 5.1 speaker system for $100.
Oh, wow. What? How?
I know.
That's a $2,900 discount.
Well, the cable to hook it all up was $2,900, obviously.
Right. Well, you got to get the special Monster brand snake oil, gold-plated, fiber optic, carbon fiber, isolation with isolating retaining wall, 50-gauge wire to connect it.
Well,
because, see, supernovas from the sun could make it make a little, it can make it go once per 10 years.
Right.
So, obviously, you gotta,
right. So now it's all hooked up and it works great. Now, the thing that I've learned is that the old soundbar only supported surround if you were using Dolby or DTS. Otherwise, it would only be 2-channel if you did just PCM, uncompressed audio. And that was part of what was causing my delay. Because if I tell my Xbox to do Dolby on the new soundbar, it's got a less of a delay. It's like 1/4 of a second. But if I just tell it to do 5.1 uncompressed full thing,
the Dolby processing is what was adding.
that soundbar could not process surround in a reasonable period of time, apparently.
Yeah.
So, but no, the new one is good. It works. It's nice. I also picked up Avenging Spirit, which we made fun of on our box art episode because the box art is so stupid, but the game is fun.
I have to look this up.
Oh, yeah. So the box art makes it look like a Dick Tracy game, and it's actually a game where you play as an adorable ghost.
Yes. Yes.
So
Jalico.
Yes. So City Connection just re-released it on all the major consoles as a $4 game. And I had some credit on my Xbox, and I was like, I've got $4. This is an old arcade game. It looks fun. I'll try it out. And it's very simplistic. Holy cow, is it simplistic? But for $4, it's fine. It was worth picking up for $4. But the main thing that occupied my time this week that I had to bring up here, because otherwise I would have put it in the news, and it's not news because it's stupid. So there was a post on Reddit like a couple months ago now of some dude who says, how do I get into the church in Nier Automata?
Yes.
And it sounded like it was a 12-year-old saying this. And people were like, oh, there's not a church, honey. This is probably what you're thinking of. This is an area that I guess could be seen as a church. It's not, though. This is how you get there. Dude didn't respond. And then like 2 weeks later, he posts again. He's like, I can get into this church and my friend can't. How do I get in there? And it's a picture of an area in the game that no one has ever seen before.
Yes.
And people are immediately losing their minds. They're like, how did you do this? How did you get in there? And
and I think only because of Yoko Taro.
Right, yeah, because he's exactly the kind of person.
If it was any other game, any other creator, they'd be
Right.
like, "What? This is a hoax."
Yeah,
But
this is
because
dumb.
it's Yoko Taro,
Right.
everybody's like, "Hey, wait a minute."
Yeah, is there something there? And it was great because then everybody's like, well, how did you get in there? And he's like, oh, I let me see if I can get a recording. And he posts this like 8-second recording of him going in there from where the rest of the game is. And and it's like a shaky cam sideways view. And everybody's like, can you please get us a better video than that? And he's like, sorry, that's all the space on my mom's phone I'm allowed to use. And and then he just keeps, milking it out. And the modding community all comes out and is like, there's no way that's a mod. One, it's showing PlayStation button prompts, and we can't seem to get those to work on the PlayStation or on the PC version. And two, we can't figure out how to mod environments in this game. It's just not happening. We've all been trying for years. This isn't a mod. This is somebody who has either hacked the game wide open, or the developers did this. And of course it ended up being a mod, but they played it out for a while, and now they have released their tools for other people to mod the game, which is exciting that people can mod the game. But more fun
that's a good ending to the hoax,
right?
Where it's like, haha, got y'all. Here's the tools to mod now, like,
right?
Something the community has wanted, not just like, oh, fuck you.
But it was pretty great because for like 3 or 4 days there, it had hit like peak speculation, and everybody was thinking there is a chance that this is real. And then several developers of the game started chiming in, and like one of the voice actors was commenting on Twitter, and they're like, this is so exciting, I have to see more. And then Yoko Taro responded by saying, I don't normally tweet in English, please do not expect anything from me, I like beer and sausages. And of course, everybody in the community is like, what does beer and sausages mean? How does this fit into the church?
Man, I like beer and sausages too, Yoko Taro. Let's hang out, man.
Right? And it's great because for like the last 2 weeks, the only things Yoko Taro had been commenting on Twitter was like horny comments on cosplayers. And now it's suddenly just like, I don't speak English and I like beer and sausage. Please leave me alone. And it was great. It was a great time.
Well, let's get into the rest of the news then.
Okay.
First up, GameStop removes an NFT from the marketplace that depicted a victim of 9/11.
Yeah. There's a very famous picture from 9/11 that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. And
good job, GameStop.
Incredibly tasteless. Just
I can't believe
really
that
GameStopped it.
I can't believe that something tasteless would be on the GameStop NFT marketplace. Well, I mean, what do we expect?
Yeah.
What do we expect to happen?
It's just disgusting.
Jax Pacific and Nintendo announced a 24-volt Mario Kart racing car for kids. This is like one of those Power Wheels. Remember those? Pow, pow, Power Wheels. Those commercials,
Exactly.
Man. I had a Power Wheel.
They're ready
anyway,
to roll.
I will say, if you're a particularly slender adult, you can get in one and drive it.
Yeah.
Because my daughter owns one.
Yeah, if you're petite and slender, you could also Mario Kart now.
Yes. So this, honestly, I'm shocked they've not done this before now.
Right.
I thought for sure they had done this,
No.
but I guess not.
Yeah. Was a brilliant
Meta,
idea, though.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. Ever since the first YouTube video came out, the day YouTube came out, of someone racing a go-kart dressed like Mario,
right?
Like, what have we been waiting on?
And all those times that Nintendo shut down go-kart racing places for being Mario Kart themed.
I still don't. I just fucking Nintendo.
Right.
Meta is raising prices on the Quest 2 by $100. Reports $10.2 billion in losses in its AR and VR division.
Yeah, and then they immediately said that they were doubling down their efforts in AR and VR.
I think, and there's other news that we'll talk about soonish that relates to this, but I think a lot of this is kind of the rebound from the pandemic spending. I bought an Oculus because I was stuck at home for the pandemic, and I was like, fuck it, I'll do VR.
Yeah.
And I think now it's like, hey, now, people have more stuff to do, so they're buying less VR headsets.
And
I
also,
think the market was artificially inflated, I guess is what I'm saying, for VR headsets for a little bit there.
Right. And also, Meta seemed to push hard into this idea that people were going to use VR and AR in the office space. And offices have pushed back hard to say, please don't make us do that.
You can't even fucking get old executives to get rid of their BlackBerries. You're going to make them put a fucking Quest 2 on their head to have a meeting in Meta space? Like, what are you talking about?
We did get them to get rid of their BlackBerries by shutting down all the BlackBerry Enterprise servers.
You did
by force.
Star Wars KOTOR remake development is paused due to issues within the studio. This is heartbreaking for a lot of reasons. One, it's a great game. Two, the original is just a pain in the dick to play these days. It runs fine, but man, that interface, let me tell you.
It was just re-released on everything, the original.
Yeah, it was. I picked up the Steam version, and I had forgotten how dated it is.
How dated an early Xbox game is?
Yep. I just forgot. I played so much KOTOR. I don't think I ever went anywhere. I think I barely left the starting zone, but I put in like 50 hours just running around fighting guys.
Nice.
Because
that sounds like how you play most RPGs, actually.
Yeah. That is exactly it. I had no idea where to go or what to do or who to talk to, but I was killing dudes. I remember one playthrough, I got far enough to get my lightsaber, which I'm sure fans of the series would be like, oh, the very beginning of the game? Because that's what you always say to me.
Yeah.
Whenever I go, Saturn, I made it to this, and you go, oh, the beginning? And I was so excited about that.
Yeah.
That was about it. So very, very, very upsetting.
Let me ask you this. Had you tried reading any of the dialogue?
I don't understand the question.
Okay.
The ballot was confusing. I don't know what you mean. Sony reportedly very interested in acquiring Square Enix's Japanese assets.
I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but it is a little troubling.
I would be shocked that I would be shocked if we heard that Sony has not been trying to make Square Enix an offer for years.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about that one just because Square Enix and Nintendo have worked so well together for decades.
Yeah.
And to think that partnership would go away is a problem, especially considering Nintendo has pretty much financed the entire marketing for Dragon Quest in the West for decades now.
I suspect that that's probably one of the big reasons that they are, I would assume, resistant to Sony's potential buyout.
That would be my thought as well.
You know, Nintendo Switch Online app on mobile updated to allow you to send friend requests.
Oh boy,
we've made it! It's the future.
It's the future of 2002.
Welcome, everyone. You can now send requests to your friends from your telephone. Oh my gosh.
But not from your BlackBerry, because we shut down the BlackBerry Enterprise server.
Yeah. You'll have to use, Microsoft Phone or Palm Pre or whatever else you got. I don't know what else is out there. Just one of those.
Yeah, it's a Windows Phone 8.
Nintendo Switch Online controllers are now supported by Steam.
And also Joy-Cons as of today.
You can play your retro collections with NSO controllers, which is pretty exciting.
Right.
Although that makes me wonder now if my N64 controller is supported on my Steam Deck for emulating N64 games. I didn't even think about it. Oh my gosh.
Or for those PC ports of Mario 64 and Zelda.
Yes. Sega states that the Genesis Mini 2 supply outside of Japan will be roughly 1/10 the original model's supply. I don't think this is a shock to any of us. The first one, it languished on shelves to the point that I was kind of worried about it.
Yeah, same here. I'm a little surprised they are releasing the second one in the West, to be honest.
I mean, sort of. They're shipping it to us straight from Japan.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I do remember because it came out and it the NES and the SNES sold out instantly, and then the Genesis comes out and it sat there and we were like, okay, well, it's available. This is great. And then months went by and it was like, okay, it's still very available.
Yeah.
Did they make way too many?
What's weird is the Genesis continued to be available after the PlayStation Classic released, bombed, went on clearance, and went away.
And was available through the entire run of the Turbo Mini.
Yeah. And I think that maybe they continued to produce them for a while. That's my only guess.
I feel like they did too. Yeah. So yeah, just kind of
a little worrying.
Not shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah. Diablo Immortal made $100 million in less than 2 months.
Gross.
100,000 of which was spent by a player in the game that then complained that there was no one to play with because now they're so high level that they can't matchmake with anyone.
Well, see, what he was supposed to do was spend 50,000 on himself and 50,000
on a friend.
Exactly. That way they could both play.
The whole deal.
It's disgusting.
I know that it's such a tired. It's such a tired argument to say that we are just tired and disgusted with mobile gaming. But we just are. I just don't. Man.
Yeah. But it's here to stay.
Activision Blizzard announces that their mobile games are now grossing more than all of their console and PC games combined. I want you to remember what all properties are included in that statement.
Yep. Your Call of Duties and your World of Warcraft.
Your StarCrafts, your World of Warcrafts, all your Tony Hawks, all the Activision stuff.
Your Bandicoots and your Dragons and all that.
That's alarming.
Yep.
If anything, makes me happier that they were purchased. Because Microsoft seems keen to make them still make video games.
Right, yeah. Microsoft wants more stuff on the Xbox. They do want to make some money on mobile, I'm sure, but they seem to want some more stuff on the Xbox.
Yeah. And finally, the Analog Pocket can now run ROMs natively without a flash card. Oh my gosh, you have access to the hardware you paid for. the capabilities on it that it should have been able to do from the day one.
Yeah, there was some kind of firmware update, and I want to say that there was some sort of homebrew plugin or something that was added to the firmware or something.
The other systems, they got jailbroken.
Exactly, yeah.
And it was by the person that worked on them originally, but it was like you had to go to his site and kind of seek it out. It was kind of one of those things like, well, it's official, but it's unofficial sort of thing. But I joke, but it's still good to see that on the Analog Pocket. It should have that capability from day one. Why wouldn't it?
Exactly.
And that brings us to our topic at hand. This week we're talking Natsume.
Oh, that's lots of fun.
You might know, it's like you put them in reverse order. For games like Abadox, Scat, Pocky, and Rocky. And then they also did Harvest Moon, I guess.
What's that one? I don't remember.
They did that as well.
Okay, describe this Harvest Moon to me in terms of Scat.
Well, you scoop up a lot of it in the barn. Okay. And so that's...
Okay, now I'm getting the picture. Sweet.
That's your main interaction with it. Right.
I just need Scat-based terminology.
That was the sequel to Scat, Scat-based terminology. It didn't come out in the West for obvious reasons.
And then Scat 3, Scatman.
Skip it a boop bop bop.
Just cleaning up poop while scatting.
Founded as Natsume.
Off to an excellent start.
It's founded as Natsume Corporation Limited on October 20th, 1987 in Tokyo, Japan. North American branch was founded as Natsume Incorporated in May of 1988 in Burlingame, California, USA.
Oh.
As far as scope, Saturn did, I was going to say most of the research for this episode. I'm going to amend that to say he did everything.
I also founded Natsume, so it was easy.
Right, this is great. He's the one that named Scat. He thought it was funny. He didn't think they would do it. What should we call it? I don't know, Scat? Can we go to lunch? Okay. Wait, what?
Yeah, pretty much.
But apparently there's not a lot of info out there about Natsume. So, just
yeah, it's weird because their website has like a history section, and their history section is basically, we made these games. Goodbye.
We are Natsume. See you later.
Yeah.
As far as first encounters, I knew Natsume as the Harvest Moon company.
Right.
My first Harvest Moon was Harvest Moon Back to Nature, and that's just what I always associated Natsume with. I do remember them also. They're notable to me on PSP because they did what was that Oh, what was that? Like Sci-Fi Harvest Moon. It's the
Oh,
title of the
yeah.
game
It said
Sci-Fi Harvest
in it.
Moon. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it though.
Oh gosh, what was it called? Here it is. Innocent Life, a Futuristic
that's the
Harvest Moon was the name of the game.
Yep, that's it.
And they also did the and still do the Rune Factory games.
They do not still do the Rune Factory games.
Do they not?
They never did technically. We'll get to that.
Okay, well, I remember seeing their name on Rune Factory.
They did publish it for a while.
Well, that would be why I know it.
But not anymore.
Anywho, yeah, they were always the like weird farming game company to me.
Right, yeah.
And in my head, I just assumed that they just only ever really made farming games.
Yeah, and scat.
And scat.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw some of their stuff on rental shelves like Scat and Spanky's Quest and Pocky and Rocky and stuff like that, but I didn't really pay attention to Natsume until Lufia 2 came out, which I only rented because it was a sequel to Lufia, which I'd already played. And then I kept an eye out for them, and there was nothing quite Lufia 2 like after that, so I was pretty confused. I do have to real quickly, just because I know I've told this story on the show before, I have to say the Natsume story when...
Yes, I was going to ask you to repeat it because it has been a couple hundred episodes since Natsume joke happened.
Right. So when I bought my copy of Lufia 2 was 4 or 5 years after it came out, and the copy I got had its box, but it didn't have the manual. And just as a lark, I decided I would call them to see if I could order it. Because this is back before their website had contact information. It was just like, call us. This is the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes.
And so I called
1-900 Natsume.
Right. So I called them, and I expected to like sit through some hold music and then have somebody at a call center answer the phone. No, it immediately is picked up by someone, and you can hear the TV in the background, and they pick up the phone and they go, "Hello, Natsume, lots of fun." Which, for anyone paying attention, was not even their slogan. Their slogan was serious fun. And I'm like, hi. And she's like, "Yes, Natsume, lots of fun." Okay, I just want to see if I can order a replacement instruction manual for a game. Oh, okay, what game? Lufia 2? Yeah, hold on a second. And she puts the phone down on the table, not like on hold. She just sets it on the table, and I can still hear the TV in the background, which I believe was playing Friends. So I'm just listening to laugh tracks and bad jokes. And then after a couple minutes, she says, "Yeah, it's right here. Send us a check." And then she explains who to send the check to. And I sent a check, and like I was certain that I had just been scammed by some weird person. And like 5 weeks later in the mail, there's my instruction manual for Lufia 2.
Well, there you go.
It was lots of fun.
You got it. Well, let's get into early history for Natsume before things go weirdly south for them.
Well, before they go weirdly 8 directions, let's
yeah, I guess that's true.
So
before they weirdly rip apart.
Yeah. Initially, they seemed to be just a developer of NES and MSX games, and then shortly started developing Game Boy games as well. Some of their early games, like Heroes of the Lance and Power Blade and Shatterhand, were done for other publishers. They were just
They did Shatterhand?
They did. They developed Shatterhand.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I didn't realize it was them.
There's a lot of stuff that while I was looking through this, I was like, I didn't even know that was Natsume.
Yeah, same for me. There are a few games on the list that like I would have never guessed that Natsume developed it, and their name wasn't on the damn box.
Yeah,
so
over here anyway. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so they did put out about a dozen games for these other publishers before they started trying to publish their own games. And some of their earliest published games in Japan were Dungeon Magic and Abadox, which is another one I had no idea was Natsume.
Yeah. Yep. Abadox is dark.
Yeah.
It is one of the darker NES games. It's gross. It's nasty and scary.
Which makes it especially weird that it was published over here by Milton Bradley.
Abadox is a weird game in general. So for people that don't know, Abadox is, I think, is it side-scrolling? It's a side-scrolling shmup.
Yep.
But it's all like really gross aliens and just like gore and blood and guts everywhere.
Yeah, going back and playing Abadox now is what my brain told me playing Life Force was like at the time.
Yes, because you go back and you play Life Force and you're like, this isn't as like gross and weird as I remember it being. And you play Abadox and you're like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And it is also hard as nails. It's
yeah.
such a hard game.
Right.
Abadox is one of the few cartridges I still own that was smashed under the bunk beds by my brother. Because my brother, when he would get mad at games he couldn't beat, would lift up. We had the 80s bunk beds, the big oak, you know, they weighed 900 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
He would get so angry that his like 9-year-old body, he would go into a state of Hulkamania and just lift the bunk bed, slide the cartridge under it, and drop it. And it never broke the games.
That's amazing.
I mean, it shattered the cartridge.
Right.
But enough of the framework remained that you could still plug it in. Because for people that don't know, the NES game, the actual game, is only the last like 2 inches of the cartridge.
Yeah.
The rest of it is just empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just put stuff in there if you want, you know, like a storage container. And so, yeah, Abadox is the last cart I still own that was smashed by my brother. I still have the cartridge. And what we did was my parents, I guess they opened it up and they popped the smashed plastic back out and put a piece of clear tape over the front of it.
Nice.
And the other one I still had was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter on NES, but I sold it for like $120.
Oh, my God.
Because it's a garbage game and it was smashed under bunk beds in the 90s because of how garbage it was, and I didn't want it, and I'd rather have $120 than...
Yeah, seriously.
Actually, I think I only sold it for $100. I think it was worth $120, and because it was smashed, I got $100.
Yeah, that's still a pretty good deal.
Yeah, for smashed
for that
NES
awful game.
Oh, it's a piece of shit.
It really is.
It's
also,
a piece of shit.
If you haven't seen the Japanese cover of Abadox, go check it out because it's hardcore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to see.
Yeah, I had not seen it before, and I just because after I saw
the U.S. cover is pretty fucking weird.
Yeah,
and creepy.
It's weird and kind of gross. But then you look at the Japanese one, you're like, oh.
What is that?
Exactly, because
Is it a tooth or what the fuck?
I saw it on the list and I was like, that wasn't Natsume. And I look up the Japanese cover just to see if it had a Natsume logo on it. And I'm like, oh my God, what is that?
I'll never forget that fucking Abadox logo anyway. Right? Covered in blood.
Oh, yeah.
Blood just dripping off of it. And the weird rip-off Mega Man on the US cover.
Yeah, right.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Abadox.
So they did end up opening up a office over here in the U.S. a little under a year after they were founded. And initially, it was just there to help localize their games for other publishers over here, like Abadox. Mm-hmm. But eventually, they did start publishing games over here as well. The Western branch would publish both in-house developed Natsume games like Spanky's Quest or Tailgater or Amazing Penguin or Scat or Wild Guns.
And as much as we make fun of Scat, Scat's a pretty celebrated NES game.
Is it?
Yeah, people like Scat. Saturn. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay. It was never my thing, but I'm sure there is a fan base for it.
It's a relatively notable NES game.
I'll give it that. It is definitely one that most people seem to recognize. Well,
and
not most
just
people, but
because
enough
it's
people.
Called Scat.
That is a lot of the reason, though. But no, they did continue to build up a strong relationship with other publishers. They did start localizing games from other companies over here, which was a big part of what made the Western branch of Natsume popular. They especially were working with Taito quite a bit. And not only would Natsume in Japan develop games for Taito, but Natsume in America would publish Taito's games that Taito had no interest in publishing over here. So it did become a pretty close relationship. And one of the things that came from that is Taito agreed to allow Natsume to reboot some of their older arcade games as new series, specifically Ninja Warriors and Kiki Kai Kai, which is what we now know as Pocky and Rocky. Mm-hmm. And all the Pocky and Rocky games since the original arcade game have been made by Natsume, despite the fact the original game was a Taito game.
Now, Scat Fact.
Scat Facts.
The way the aliens invade New York City in Scat is through what is called an astro tube, which is a long tube that goes from the aliens' space station to New York City, which you could also refer to as the scat tube.
It's also a brand of lube, AstroTube.
Well, you come down in scat, you come down the Astro Tube into New York City. It just makes sense. As far as this era, because when we get into the split, we're talking a little bit later.
Yes.
In Natsume's life, they did Wild Guns, which very notable game.
Oh yeah.
They publish or develop? I think Marvelous did River King.
Correct. That was Marvel. Well, it was Pack and Video.
Yeah. But Natsume developed the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers video game.
That is true, yes.
Which I never knew growing up, because again, their name's not on the damn thing. It just says Bandai on the front.
Right.
And I played the ever-loving shit out of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo. They didn't do the ports, but the SNES version, I played so freaking much. And I maintain that it's still a very good beat-em-up. And the only frustrating part about it is that for half the level, you have to play as just the regular person before they morph into a Power Ranger. And my favorite Power Ranger was the blue one, so I had to play as fucking Billy for like half of a level in his goofy overalls. And I remember his punching animation was like he would cover his head and duck and like blindly stick his fist out.
It's the sign of a hero.
And what frustrates me is that he's as capable as any of the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they all know fucking karate. Like, it's not like he's the garbage ranger. Like, nope, you know.
Hey, I'm the garbage ranger.
It's me, the garbage ranger. They also did the Game Boy Ninja Gaiden game.
Yes, yeah.
Which I've not played.
Oh,
but it's a Ninja Gaiden.
It's difficult.
Okay, well, I'm not shocked at that. Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into Natsume.
Yeah, the split.
The split.
So
yes.
So yeah, it was in '95. At some point, neither of them seemed to want to put a specific date on this. But at some point in '95, Natsume Incorporated, the Western branch, split from Natsume Company in Japan to form its own independent company, also called Natsume. So now you have Natsume Corporation, which is the Japanese company.
You got
and
Natsume Lots of Fun and Natsume Twice the Fun.
Yeah.
It's the two different competing Natsume
Natsume
brands.
Lots of Fun, Natsume Sort of Fun.
Natsume equivalent amount of fun is because you don't want to be less.
Yeah. And I also can't find any reason as to why it happened. But the two companies split. There was one article I found where they said that they thought it was for tax purposes, but they had no evidence of it. They were just like, this is just a theory we're throwing out there.
Well, but if it's for tax purposes, wouldn't you want to have them maintain the same parent company or something?
I don't know.
You know,
I don't know. It just...
Like, if it's a complete split, then, you know...
I always want to know, is there any bad blood? But there doesn't appear to be, because they keep working together for years.
Yeah.
They still work together. So real quick, here is Natsume Corporation, the Japanese company, and what happened to them after the split. So they did continue to develop games. They didn't publish nearly as much. They were still kind of publishing, but not very much. Certainly not as much as the Western branch. Their biggest success during that era was the Metabots series, which they published quite a few games in the Metabots series, which I understand in Japan is called Meta-Rot, which that sounds awful.
Yes, it does. It sounds like something you get on
your foot. I got Meta-Rot on my foot.
My dad died of Meta-Rot. You should get that looked at. That's serious. My uncle died of Shatterhand.
Shatterhand.
There's a bunch of Metabots was a big thing in the early aughts.
Yeah.
It was pretty popular. I feel like I remember the GBA games being really crazy popular, or was it just Game Boy?
I don't
know.
Exactly.
They were a popular handheld. I remember them on handhelds.
Yeah, they did do at least one or two GameCube games as well, and I want to say that's where they stopped developing them. It was around 2004 GameCube GBA era is when they stopped developing Metabots. In addition to that, they did port a bunch of console games to the Game Boy Color. That seemed to be a Natsume Japan thing. They ported the Tony Hawk games. They ported WWF wrestling titles to Game Boy Color. Weird Western games being ported to Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance by this Japanese company. But they seem to get a deal by it.
I will say they do seem to have a fixation on Power Rangers games, especially in the GBA era. There's a lot of Power Rangers stuff. But to be fair, their very first game was a Sentai game.
Oh, yeah.
It was Chojin Sentai Jetman.
Yeah. Which
And
I'm going to pretend I know what that means.
It just means it's Jetman. He's Jetman.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wonder if like this is something where they're like, no, we're the Sentai game people.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they've done a lot of Power Rangers games and developed them too.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just publishing. They even did Kamen Rider on the DS.
Yeah, I did see that they did, and I think they did a Kamen Rider game back in the late '80s as well. I think I saw. But then in October 2002, they formed a pachinko division.
Oh, the death knell for the Japanese game company.
And they named their pachinko division Atari, which is not related to another company that is called Atari. And I previously thought it was. It is not. This is a completely...
Can you do that? Is that a thing?
I guess so. So apparently...
Are you fucking allowed?
So the Atari we know in the West did not have a Japanese office at the time. And so Natsume just was like, ours now.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll take this.
And what's more is they called it Atari Incorporated, which is what the other company is called.
What? What?
Yeah, so
you can't do this.
Yeah, so that's what happened, and then their game development started to slow to a crawl after that. They did continue to make some games, but a lot less. And then in 2013, they decided to merge their video game division with their pachinko division and rename the company Natsume Atari, which is what their current name is. And again, unrelated to other Atari. And
I will say, Natsume did develop, I think this was Natsume Atari. Yeah, Natsume Atari developed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 on the Game Boy Color. I played an absurd amount of those GBC ports of Tony Hawk's Pro. Had literally nothing to do with the regular games except that it was skateboarding.
Right.
Were not even remotely the same type of game.
Yeah, but it still had the same soundtrack, right?
No. I played so much of those, man. I had them both and they were great.
But they do still make games. Technically, they still develop games. Some recent titles they did were Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which I recently played through, Pocky and Rocky Reshrine, Ninja Warriors Once Again, Wild Guns Reloaded, and a game I saw called Girls und Panzer Dream Tank Match DX, which I don't know what it is, but that name was way too great for me to not write down.
Obviously, it's a World War II era game about attractive women matching
something
something. I don't know.
I think it's a mobile game. I don't remember, but it was.
I hope it is.
That name was enough for me. That's just, Anyway, so they did re-enter the video game publishing business in Japan in 2016 with Wild Guns Reloaded. And then they've since published a handful of games in Japan, including localizations of Western titles like Layers of Fear and The Medium. And it looks like they also at one point made a separate company called Natsume Solution that makes either websites or mobile apps. I'm not sure, but that company
lens cleaning solution.
That company was bought by another company that seems to make erotic manga. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I'm with you. This all makes great sense.
And I can find no information about that in English at all. So I was just trying to stumble through Google Translate and was just like, well, now I'm at an erotic manga page. I don't know how this happened, but now I need to take 10 minutes to investigate this.
I think at the bottom of any good research is an erotic manga page. You know, if you drill down far enough, no matter what you're researching,
that's how you know you've struck gold.
You're going to end up in the Girls und Panzer Dream Tank Match DX erotic manga section.
Right, yeah, naturally.
You know? So
But yeah, that's just the Japanese company since this point.
so let's talk Natsume Inc.
Yeah, Natsume Incorporated, the
Yes.
American company that used to be a division of Natsume, which is now its own company. So obviously they continued to publish games, localized games. A lot of them were developed by Natsume, but also games that were developed by Taito, and especially Pack-In Video seemed to be a big partner of theirs for a while. And to flesh out their catalog a little bit more, they started publishing games on non-Nintendo consoles, specifically the Saturn and PlayStation. And of course, now they publish on everything. And among their biggest hits was, of course, the translation of Pack-In Video's Bokujo Monogatari, which they called Harvest Moon, which we did a whole episode about way back in episode 218.
We did?
Yeah, Andrew was
man.
here.
I wonder if it was good.
Yeah. It was,
Do you remember if it was a good
Yeah, it was good. Andrew was
It's
here.
been
We
so
had
long.
fun.
It's been so long since we've done episodes that sometimes I'm like, man, I want to do an episode on that. And it's like, oh, we already did one. And I'm like, well, I hope it was good because I want to do one.
Right.
I hope it was better than the one I would do now.
Yeah.
If
No, it
Andrew was
pretty
here,
good.
it probably was.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
probably better than the one I would have done.
So yeah, it was shortly after so this is just a real quick rundown of the mess of Harvest Moon, just so that people are caught up.
Yes.
So shortly after the release of Harvest Moon, Pack-In Video, the developer of Harvest Moon, was purchased by Victor Company of Japan, which is better known over here as JVC. And as JVC no longer published video games outside of Japan, they just continued to work with Natsume and let Natsume keep releasing the games over here. And then in 2003, Victor sold Victor Interactive to Marvelous, and Marvelous also didn't really publish much over here, so they went ahead and continued to work with Natsume and let Natsume release the games over here.
Yep.
And then in 2007, Natsume released a game called Puzzle to Harvest Moon, which was not based on Bokujo Monogatari. It was a completely original title, and it was just a puzzle game. I believe it was for the DS. And then it was followed up by another game called Harvest Moon Frantic Farming, which was another puzzle game, also for the DS and mobile devices. And these were the first two titles that Natsume ever released that were called Harvest Moon, but not just localizations. Yeah. And then in 2011, Marvelous merged with AQ Interactive and formed a new company called Marvelous AQL, which is now just called Marvelous. And AQ Interactive owned a company called Xseed, which specializes in localizing Japanese games. I'm sure we've talked about them plenty of times. A lot of people probably know who Xseed is. And after Harvest Moon 3D A New Beginning, Marvelous decided they would no longer be licensing Bokujo Monogatari or Rune Factory or Fish Eyes, which is the Japanese name of Real Fishing. As well as Legend of the River King and all their other simulation games that they acquired from JVC. They would no longer be licensing any of that to Natsume, and they would begin to localize and publish them themselves. But Natsume asserted that they owned the rights to the names Harvest Moon and Real Fishing,
Yes.
and immediately began seeking outside publishers to assist in developing new titles in those series, starting with Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley in 2014, and they have continued to make more since then. And of course, Marvelous continues to localize the original series as Story of Seasons, though Rune Factory, they always owned the name too, so that never changed its name. It's still Rune Factory.
Right. But now Story of Seasons is effectively
What used to be Harvest Moon.
what used to be Harvest Moon, and Harvest Moon
It's just some new thing.
is some weird corpse or something that is still floating around out there and releasing games.
Yeah. And then in 2013, Natsume Incorporated, the U.S. company, formed Natsume Incorporated Japan, which is, of course, a Japanese subsidiary of a company that used to be an American subsidiary of a Japanese company.
Yes, we've come full circle.
Yes, and while the
Company disappeared up its own ass.
basically that they are turning themselves into scat at this point.
Yes, they're going back up the Astro Tube into Scatland.
So while Natsume Japan, the new company that is not related to Natsume Atari, which is a Japanese company, They mostly develop titles for Natsume, the American company Natsume, including some of the new Harvest Moon games. And they've also published a handful of games digitally in Japan. But now Natsume Incorporated Japan is helping develop Harvest Moon for Natsume Incorporated America, and they have even sniped some of the former Harvest Moon developers from Marvelous. So it's just a giant mess.
So it used to be that if you want Harvest Moon, you played Harvest Moon. And then it turned into, if you want Harvest Moon, play Story of Seasons. And now it's turning back into, if you want Harvest Moon, maybe play Harvest Moon, but we're not sure yet.
From what I've read, even the games they've developed with former Harvest Moon staff are apparently still kind of hot garbage.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Story of Seasons does seem to be carrying the lineage well. I know they just came out with the remake of Mineral Town.
Yeah, Friends of Mineral Town a year or two ago,
which was pretty well received. And so, well, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, they did just recently do that Rune Factory 5 special edition, I think.
They did, yes.
And that
came out
pretty well.
And was that? Well, they did Rune
Marvelous,
Factory 4 special edition. And then they did Rune Factory 5, which I think was a new title.
Maybe, yeah. I don't.
Rune Factory 5 was the new one because the last one was the last one was Rune Factory 4.
Okay.
On
3DS, maybe
3DS, yeah. And then I want to say Rune Factory 5 because that was the whole thing. They're like Rune Factory 4 special edition's coming out, and then 5 came out, and everyone's like, well, 4 special is still kind of better than 5.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Or I don't know. It's Natsume. Does anyone know? You know what's not lots of fun keeping up with all this shit.
That's not even Natsume anymore. That's Marvelous at this point.
Oh my god!
Natsume hasn't released a Rune Factory in years.
Well, regardless.
Yeah.
Games. They made games.
Did they?
Yeah. Yeah. They did. I feel like we've gone through most of their like notable releases.
Yep. Except for Fish Eyes.
Except for Fish Eyes. As far as legacy, I mean, it's hard to even know.
It's such a weird legacy. Because the earliest stuff was Natsume Japan, who still exists as Natsume Atari.
Yeah.
And the later stuff was mostly localizations. And because they have lost the rights to their most prominent series, they seem to be in a hard place right now, but they also keep publishing stuff, so they can't be in that hard of a place. So
I mean, Story of Seasons is doing well. Like, like it's pretty celebrated in the farming sim space.
Right, but that's not Natsume, so
it's right. God damn it. Harvest Moon seems to be doing poor.
Yeah, it does. It's not doing great.
That's what I meant to say. The inverse of what I said. God damn it.
Yeah, so the problem is that Harvest Moon is not doing great right now, and that was something they propped themselves up on for so long.
Only thing they can do, bring back Legend of the River King.
That's also Marvelous.
Or does Marvelous have that now?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well, then they can just shut the hell up and let Marvelous make Legend of the River King in Story of Seasons.
They just need to convince Square Enix to let them re-release Lufia 2 again.
What's weird to me is like Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, is a full-on remake of a game that they don't own the rights to anymore.
No, so Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town is a remake of Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town.
Yes.
And Marvelous owns both Story of Seasons and Friends of Mineral Town. They just don't own the name Harvest Moon. Natsume owns Harvest Moon.
Right, but it just seems weird.
Yeah, to remake the game with a different name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, remake it with a different name because you're the ones that made it and you want to re-release it, but it just seems weird that Natsume didn't try to go after him.
Well, because they don't have any right to go after him.
I guess, but at some point, it's like you're literally remaking our game that we own the rights to.
Yeah, but they don't own the rights to it anymore.
I get...
And they didn't make that original game. They just translated it. And it's got a new translation now, so they don't have
I guess it
any
is
of that.
Legally distinct enough that there's no real...
Oh, it's the exact same thing. It's just they don't own any of it.
It's... God damn it. You just explained it to me for an hour and I'm still confused.
Yeah, it is a confusing situation. But don't worry, maybe their new Japanese branch will make a Western spin-off to explain it to us.
Well, hey, maybe Natsume Atari will do okay with the VCS. You know, maybe that'll be.
All of this is confusing, isn't it? The whole situation is confusing.
Oh my! I can't follow it. It's like I look at it,
Yeah.
and it's like when I was taking math in school. I'd look at it and be like, oh, I fucking got it. I look at it, I understand it, and the second I look away, I'm like, I don't know any of it. I don't understand any of this anymore.
It is such an awkward story is really what it comes down to.
Well, if you want to hear more awkward stories, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/retrowarriors. And you can get cool things like uncut versions of this show, or our spin-off show, Talking Wizards, or After Hours, or, you know, just the feeling, the good feeling of supporting people that make a thing you like.
The good feeling.
I got there. I got there.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I did. Got there right through the Astro tube.
Express route down the Astro tube.
We do want to remind you that Guy is going to be here after the ending theme, so stay tuned for the after party with him. And we want to thank the following patrons for their kind donations, starting with Chris Ruppersberg.
And Puff Puff, please.
Neil Hayes.
Blackened.
John Fry.
Jurgen.
Edward Majewski Jr.
Brian Guido Hassan.
Pogs are back.
And Robert Vieira Jr.
Me and Andrew shopped for Pogs for like an hour the other night together.
Yeah.
On
Etsy?
eBay?
Oh, okay.
No, eBay.
You
because
want legit Pogs.
in my head I'm like, I want legit Pog brand Pogs, but then I forgot the reason nobody fucking had Pog brand Pogs is because Pog brand Pogs just say Pog. And they're lame. And you want like the Power Ranger Pogs or like the Ninja Turtle Pogs or the ones with the weird guy on it, you know.
I've never owned Pogs, so I don't know any of this.
Saturn, it's like you don't buy into every weird fad that pops up every couple of years.
That is weird.
I don't understand.
If you'll end the show, I'll talk to you about Pogs.
All right, this is great. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together. Hi, welcome to the after party with Guy. It's our producer, Guy, is here.
Hey, guy.
Hey, Pogs are back.
Pogs are back. You know what? I want to say this. I want to be on record. Pogs never left. You know, they're here. They're here to stay, okay, Saturn?
I mean,
no matter what
culture
you
would
think.
disagree with you, but
Okay, yeah, well, culture.
in reality,
Whatever.
And based on my home, they were never here in the first place.
probably
I don't-
profits
how-
and consumer reports.
You're telling me that not one Pog ever entered your home.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, that's impossible. It's literally not. They were giving them away like fucking magazines. Everything had Pogs.
I never had one, no.
You
I
had there
like
was a Pog in your
500
home.
Pog sleeve.
I don't-
Thank you.
I
You
don't-
had Pogs in your home.
I don't recall ever having a Pog in my home. No.
I bet you if I went to your parents' house and dug around, I could find a Pog.
Maybe. But, you know, if you dug around in my parents' house long enough, you'd also find hidden treasure, so...
Like Pogs.
Because
You know, Justin is just going to bring a Pog and like plant evidence.
Oh, look at this Pog right here. Oh, look at this right here in the middle of the floor. It's like brand new.
Yeah. Justin,
Still got
why
the
does it
little-
have your signature on it?
Still got the little flake from where you popped it out of the little backing, you know?
It's got an
Flakes?
RW logo on it.
Right.
Well, yeah, so you would get Pogs and they would come in like, you know, when you get like board game pieces, they come on those like cardboard sheets and they're like cut out and you got to
Yeah.
pop them out.
Yeah.
They would come on those. So
Oh.
you'd be like, oh, here's my little sheet of Power Ranger Pogs that came in my Nickelodeon magazine or whatever
I always
shit
thought
came
they
in.
were like clay or something. I don't
No, they're
know.
No,
cardboard.
They're
Okay.
cardboard.
What? No. Well, the Slammers were often ceramic or metal.
See, this just
Okay.
shows you how few Pogs I had because I didn't even know what they're made of.
Well, Andrew and I realized we don't know how to play Pogs because I said,
What?
how do you play Pogs? And he goes, I don't know. And okay, well, let me tell you the way we played Pogs. And then, Guy, you can tell me how to properly play Pogs.
Okay, great.
The way we played Pogs was we put them in a big stack and we took our slammer and we stood over the stack and we threw it into the pile as hard as we could and they exploded everywhere. And that was the whole game.
Perfect.
That doesn't sound like a game.
Well,
All right.
shut up.
What you're supposed to do
Okay.
is you come to an agreeable amount of pogs per person. Like you each bring your own pogs.
Yeah, of course.
From
Saturn's house where they live.
So let's say you agree 5. I can flip a stack of 5, 10 pogs or whatever. So then you put them all like face down, all 10 of them on top of each other.
In a stack.
Yeah. And then one person, whoever I guess made the bet first or whatever, slams their slammer on the stack, and however many they flip over, they get to keep. And you keep doing that until that stack's gone. You alternate back and forth.
No, we did not do that. We just slammed shit into them, and then we were like, yay! And then we put them back in the tube.
Yeah, Pogs is inherently a forced trading game. Like sometimes you didn't want to risk your good Pogs.
Right, so you wouldn't bet those.
Right.
But that seems kind of fun, go ahead, Saturn.
The first time I recall hearing of Pogs was the Simpsons joke, and I didn't know what they were, and so I asked some people at school if they knew what they were, and they told me they were these little disc things, and I thought they meant tiddlywinks. And so for years, I just thought that Pogs were also tiddlywinks.
Nobody ever means tiddlywinks, Saturn.
You sure?
Unless they say tiddlywinks.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I watched a Tiddlywinks World Championship game once.
Yeah, was it right after Cornhole?
Yes, I did. They have a World Championship.
Yeah.
And they play on these like felt tables and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, you can go look it up. Tiddlywinks World Championship. It's a thing. And it's riveting television, let me tell you.
I would totally watch that too, yeah.
We had Pogs, and then here's the thing. When Pokemon and Beanie Babies came out, everything else was trash garbage that could go in the garbage can because it wasn't Pokemon or Beanie Babies, and it could fuck off. So we had Pogs, and then right about the time like 96 to 98 hit, it was full Beanie Baby Pokemon fever right into the 2000s. And that's all any of us cared about at that juncture.
I didn't live through any of that. I was alive then, but I didn't experience any of those things.
I was right in the perfect age. Pokemon came out when I was in what year was Pokemon? 98? So I was 10. Yes, yeah. So that would have been like 4th grade, which I think is really kind of the perfect age for that. You know what I mean? It was, and of course it came out.
Comprehension is high enough that you can play it without parents.
Yep. And I'm just old enough to want to collect stuff. Oh, I want to collect this thing, And we had Game Boys, and it was amazing. And the cartoon came out at the same time. Oh my God, the cartoon!
My kid was telling me earlier about playing Pokemon Legends Arceus or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, there's a story, but really, we were talking about sandbox games. Because there's a story, but really, sometimes I'll just turn it on and go hunt Pokemon for hours.
Yep. I remember. I remember in those early days, you'd always hear people making shit up because the internet was there by 98, but it wasn't great.
Right.
So people would be like, oh, yeah, I caught a Pokemon that was a naked lady, or like whatever shit they came up with just constantly.
Yeah, see, 3-4 years earlier than that, when I was in middle school, I guess, that would have been when me and my friends were hearing the same made-up bullshit, but all about Mortal Kombat. It was always, oh yeah, I saw some dude unlock a naked lady with chainsaws for a head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you do this fatality right, their clothes come off. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Guy, what do you got for us this month?
I did promise you stories, did I not?
You did.
You did. Yeah. No, I'm ready.
Anxious.
For it.
Well, follow up to my last appearance where I quit my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I unquit my job.
Oh no. That's the opposite of quitting.
Just when I thought I was out.
Right. So I figured I should come back and be honest with the audience.
Yeah.
They threw a dump truck full of money up at me, and I came back. So
that's good.
As much as solid as the day trading plan was, I can't say that some of it was just frustration and work bullshit that finally made me go, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I mean, really. So I guess you wouldn't say you came back as much as you sold out. Would that be more
absolutely
correct?
Anybody who gets mad at anybody for selling out, F you, dude.
Yeah, those people just haven't been made a reasonable offer yet.
Right. Like,
that's the difference.
My wife, which is a story for next week,
Yeah.
was telling me that like she had friends back in like high school that used to go like, you know, watch local bands out in Florida or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some of them would like get sort of famous and they'd be like, no, I don't like them anymore. They sold out. Then why did you go see their shows in the first place?
Yeah. No, dude, I was real into the punk rock thing as a teenager, and that was a real thing. They fucking sold out. Sold out? You mean they're making a living off the thing that they love doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, good for them.
Like if they come out and they're like, now we're going to release NFTs, like, all right, you fucking sold out.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, hey, we got a contract, we're making money, like, okay, well, you know.
That's how contracts work. Congratulations.
Fucking break.
Yeah, I'm glad that they offered you a dump truck of money. That's exciting. My job offered me a jalopy full of money to potentially move to Mexico.
Oh,
Permanently or temporarily, or what's
I don't know. They are saying that I'm still a contender for the role instead of being formally offered the role, but they are suggesting that I take a noticeable but not like super amazing pay bump in order to at least spend a year training and working in Guadalajara, Mexico. And I had to explain to them I don't speak the language, and they were like,
That's fine.
It's fine. We all speak English." And I was like, "All of you?" And they're like, "Well, all the people you'll work with." Like, "Oh, good. I'm glad I never interact with anyone outside of work."
Just
Okay,
get the
you say that
Duolingo, and within a
jokingly?
year, you'll get it.
Right.
You say that jokingly, but do you really?
I mean, like at stores and businesses and post offices and
But
such.
stores are easy. You're just like, I want that number of that thing. You can point.
Post
Those-
office is a pretty
those
old
weren't-
man statement.
Those were all English words you just said.
No, you just point and you hold up fingers, man. They'll figure it out.
No, it's a thing I'm considering if they do make the formal offer. I am considering.
I'll say this.
I'll
I
need to
think-
get a passport first, though.
I think, one, the idea of moving somewhere foreign is like kind of inherently exciting.
Right.
But then also, like, doing it for work is kind of the best way to do it because you're walking in the door with a bunch of people around you that you know
True,
that can talk to you and help you and show you around. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
As opposed to just walking into Mexico and being like, I'm here, it's me, Saturn. Like, that's.
I've already had 3 people that work down there message me and say, "Hey, if you come down here, I'll show you where all the good bars are." And I'm like, "Cool,
Yeah.
that's good to know."
No, that sounds totally fun.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say I'd do it. I'd probably be really anxious and scared too,
Yeah.
because that's a normal reaction. But yeah, I think you should. It'd be cool.
It would be neat. Yeah, they so I put in my resignation, right? And they like immediately were like, "Well, what if you didn't
Please don't.
leave?" And I was like,
What if
"What do you
that?
mean?" Yeah. I was like, I am leaving. I don't need to work. I don't want to work." And they're like,
Right.
okay. How about, this is on a Friday, they're like, how about you take a weekend, tell me what your dream job would be, and then come back. And I said, okay. So over the weekend, I thought about it, and I rolled in on Monday, and I was like, all right, here's what I want. I was like, I would like to be making close to what I was making in my last, what I would call, before my career went weird after getting laid off a couple of times, right? I was making, money in 2016, an amount of money. And I would like to be making close to that in 2022, right? And I wasn't. And so they agreed to that. And I said, I didn't put it this way, but I basically said, I don't want to work Mondays ever again.
Yeah,
And
fair.
they said, okay. I was like,
But guy, won't that just mean that Tuesday is the new Monday? Now you have 2
dude.
Mondays.
No, okay,
no.
So it's a 4-day-a-week, 8-hour a day, full-time position. Like 32-hour work week is my work week now.
Yeah.
And it is amazing.
Nice.
Holy shit. Having Saturday, Sunday, Monday off is the best thing.
Nice.
My work weeks are super short. The weekends are still fast, but they're long enough. They're not super fast.
Right.
I get to see my kids for 2 days because we homeschool them. So
Nice.
I get to see them Sunday and Monday.
I do
all
miss
day.
having a 4-day work week. That was nice.
Oh, it's so good. So yeah, and then they got me close to my salary. So even like working 4-day weeks is already a 20% pay bump in and of itself.
Right.
And then, plus they gave me like another, 15-ish%.
Nice.
That ain't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
pretty nice.
I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll stay for that. Oh, and then I got to define the job, which was I don't want to push buttons anymore. I want to coordinate workfloes, more or less, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
And
No more
it's
busy
providing my expertise to various in-house divisions and then consulting with our clients and stuff. So like it has a value. But
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm so done like being the one that's writing all the SQL code,
Right.
you know?
Nobody wants that.
Right. So that's it. I get to talk to people and make plans all day and get reports on other people executing those plans.
It's
So-
funny you say that though, because the job that they offered me, when I was talking to the manager of that team today, he was like, I mean, like maybe 10 to 20% of your job will just be staring at SQL code. I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible, but all right.
Great. So let me ask you this: when the busy work starts to creep back in, as every job does, and they go, "Oh, we're gonna lighten your workload," and then they do, and then it starts creeping back up. Do you just go, "Well, fuck y'all then"? Like, what does that look like?
Well, yeah. Okay. First off, I learned to day trade because I was bored at work.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the thing that gave me the time to do it was not having enough to do at work.
Right.
So really it felt like going down to 4-day weeks helped optimize my time anyway.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
And then now I'm being slowly added onto long-term projects so it builds up over time, but they also fall off over time.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty able to sort of manage my workload. And at the moment I'm just telling them, any meetings you want to put me in where you think I can be useful, do it, and I'll see what I can do, you know?
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, if they can just fill my calendar with meetings so I can sit in and understand what's going on, then great.
Oh my God, that sounds like hell. Fill my calendar with anxiety. Just put it all right here on my calendar, and I'll go wallow in it.
Oh, most of it is just me sitting on the phone call listening to people, and then when they're like, can we do that? Like, technologically, yes. Great.
Yeah.
You know? And then later I got to come up with a plan of how to do it. But, you know, mostly it's consulting and confirming we can do things and then figuring out how to do it.
I always wanted to do consulting, but the thing about consulting is you have to do the work for a couple decades before they want you to consult.
True.
Yeah.
It's hard to just go right into consulting because I did freelance IT work for a while and I liked it because I was my own boss. I set my own rates. I only had one person physically hit me for the bill that I gave them.
Nice.
And so it was just nice. But in my head, I was like, a lot of this shit is like, it's busy work. Like, hey, we need a router, but we don't know how to buy a router or like what a good router, just shit like that.
Yeah.
Where a lot of my job is just going home,
Providing
shopping
expertise.
on Newegg and being like, hey, I think this stuff would kind of fit what you need, and here's why.
Yeah.
And that part of it, I love that. Like, if I could just get a job just doing that kind of IT consulting where I'm like, let me look at what you have going on and let me tell you what I think would be a good fix. And then you go fucking execute it. You can do the busy work. You've got grunt level employees that don't charge you $60 an hour like I do. Go make them do that.
I mean, like a network architect is a job that pays a lot of money.
It does.
And all you do is design systems and tell people to go buy them and put them together.
Well, sometimes you
this-
also have to administer the network system.
Not if you set it up right.
But at this point, that means I got to walk in the door and go, hi, yes. I've been technically unemployed for years and have an English degree. Would you hire me as a network architect? And they'd
Oh,
go,
no, I get that you specifically can't do that, but the job you described exists.
yes, it does.
My favorite is when project managers involve us IT people into the conversation. They're like, hey, can you join this meeting? We want to tell you what we're trying to do, and you can tell us if it's a thing that we can do. Then they explain it to you, and you say, yes, you can do that, but you don't own any of the software you need for that.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, well, we told the customer it would be done tomorrow. And then I have to explain to them how ownership works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the lady that hit me, I was setting up a router.
It was
for
your
her.
grandmother. You can.
It was
you can
my
just say it.
grandma.
Yeah.
She was like, you son of a bitch. And I was like, that's your daughter. No, I'd gone to, they were like, our router died. We don't like, we don't know what to buy. And I was like, let me come see like what y'all had. Cause it was a small business.
Right.
And I was like, well, let me come see what y'all have going on, what you need, what you want it to do. And then I tell them, I'm like, all right, I've looked at everything. This is what I think. Because they used to have an IT guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the structure I think you would need to grow into what you want to be.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, great. Can you go get that? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, can you go to the store and buy those things right now and come back and set them up? And I was like, I can. I'm going to bill you hourly for it, though. And that includes driving to the store and finding it and coming back. And yeah, so they got a giant bill because I was like, I've done the expert part. I've come in and told you what needs to happen.
Right.
Now you're having me do the busy work part, and that's just going to bill hourly. I'm not. Yeah, she did hit me. Yeah. Paid the bill,
That's
though.
rude.
Well, that's something.
There you go.
So, hit me and then paid the bill.
Well, that's something.
It was great. The best freelance client I ever had was this oil and gas company. They were awesome. They would just come in and they'd be like, I don't know, this doesn't work and that thing needs Microsoft Word on it. And they would leave the room. And at the end of the day, they'd come in and just cut me a check. And I'd be like, bye. It was great, man.
Nice.
It was great. Hi, Guy.
Hi.
I guess.
But
Go
the
ahead.
job said, make your schedule, tell us what you want to be paid, and make up your new job. And I said, okay, I guess, yeah, sure, I will stay for all of that.
Nice.
I really wish you would have given him like a joke proposal, like, what's your dream job? And you're like, professional ice cream taster and cat petter and
Pat
Pat Ketter. And
what the hell is a
Pat
Ketter?
I was trying to
So
say
do Pat's cats.
trying to say cat petter. Pat Ketter.
This is my friend Pat Ketter. He's a cat petter.
Yeah, Pat Ketter the cat petter. It's
The children's book writes itself.
I think that's enough. I think we've done enough.
But no, congrats on the upgrade in your job there.
Yeah,
Thank
congrats
you.
on all
Thank
the
you very
money you
much.
got. That's good. Money's good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So
Right.
I'll take it.
And to answer your question from earlier, like at the end of the day, if something happens and I hate the job, I can just requit.
Nice.
There you go. They didn't make you sign a contract or retention or anything like that. They're just like,
No, they did move out my bonus structure so it pays semi-annually instead of quarterly.
Yeah, mine is now too. It sucks.
you
Yeah.
guys get bonuses?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Man, my wife's job sucks.
Oh.
It does if she doesn't get bonuses.
No, she does not get bonuses whatsoever.
That does
at all.
suck.
No, literally zero. Third largest government military contractor in the world. Anyway, thank you for being here, Guy.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, bye. Good night.
Bye.